So maybe you are looking for a new camera, or you already have a camera and you're looking for a B camera, or you are thinking about the FX30. I have the A7 IV now, I think, for 6 months, and I really wanted the B camera, you know? Actually, I was leaning towards ZV-E10 too, but that one tends to overheat. What I read from a lot of people in reviews and what people said on YouTube, that it really overheats. I know a lot of people say this also about the A7 IV, but I never had it to overheat, at least not in 4K 25. And I filmed like a whole day on 4K 50 and it never overheated on me. So maybe some people have like faulty cameras, I don't know, but mine never did. But I was thinking about the ZV-E10, but then I said like, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit more money, so I bought the FX30. I have to say, I really like the FX3, of course. Yeah, I mean, the FX3 is an awesome camera. I really always liked the design of it. But 4,500 euro is a lot, because my A7 IV and my FX30 basically cost together that much, you know? So why did I choose the A7 IV? Well, I had the A7 III before, and I really wanted a new hybrid. I kind of missed in the A7 III that I didn't have like 10-bit, and I couldn't record more than 4K 25. So there was no 4K 50 or 60, and like I said, the 10-bit. And I also needed a camera that can take really nice photos. And the A7 IV has like a 33 megapixel sensor, and it is full frame. So for me, that was like the camera that made the most sense for me at that point, you know? Also, the 4K and the A7 IV is downsampled 7K. So it's super sharp, looks really nice. I mean, yeah, some people say that there is rolling shutter, but I don't know, I'm never shaking my camera like crazy so that I would notice that rolling shutter. And also, like if you go into crop mode, the rolling shutter is basically lower than that on the FX30, or is almost the same, you know? So I told myself like, okay, I don't see really an issue with that. And I really love the camera. I mean, like I have zero issues with it in the 6 months that I had it. I've done a ton of projects on it. And yeah, I had the ZV-E10, the first one, the Mark I. And that one was also 8-bit, and the rolling shutter was really terrible there. I mean, like you just moved around a little bit and you could already see some rolling shutter, like even in some really like soft pannings, you know? So because I always like to have like 2 cameras with me, and I felt like the ZV-E10 was not good enough, I bought the FX30. So what do I really like about this FX30 and why did I buy it? Sure, the FX3 is awesome, but the money, I mean, 4,500 euros here in Europe at this point. That I paid 2,200 for my A7 IV and 2,100 for my FX30. So that's around 4,300 or something for 2 cameras. So I think that's a really good price, considering that I would only have the FX3 for that price. And I don't really see like the point. With my A7 IV, I still have full frame and 4K 25, and I film 99% of all the stuff that I film as 4K 25. For me, it doesn't really matter that it's only 4K 25, the full frame, you know. I bought, like I have it now on this FX30, I bought the Tamron 17-28. So if I want to have like a wider field of view, in the crop mode, when I go to 4K 50, I just put on a wider lens. And the same for my FX30, I have my 17-28 on my FX30. So that means that basically it's the same if I would have like a 25.5 millimeter lens on my full frame. So yeah, for me, I don't really care about the crop. Most of the movies that you see in the cinema are still shot on Super 35, so that's basically as big as an APS-C sensor. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. You just have to adapt your lenses to it. And I think that even for the price, if I would buy the A7 IV or the FX30, I could have probably around 3 lenses and still pay less than I would only pay for the FX3. I think that people just are focusing too much on full frame and thinking that their footage will look better. I will show you like some side-by-sides on the full frame and on the APS-C, and you should decide for yourself. But I think even on the APS-C that the bokeh looks really nice and looks really good. I don't even really see the benefit of having the full frame a lot of times, only like if you're talking maybe in low light. And that's actually why I have the A7 IV now, for maybe for low light, or if I need the wider field of view. So if I'm like like filming real estate, I will use my A7 IV because that one is wider, so I can use my 17mm lens, and I have real 17mm, you know. And then my FX30 will probably be used for some other projects where I basically will have it on a gimbal, and the A7 IV will be handheld, and sometimes I also have to take pictures during some events, so I will also have my A7 IV for photos and my FX30 for video. So also the color science on both of these cameras is really similar. They say that yeah, FX30 cinema line, but I think cinema line is maybe a little bit of a marketing strategy from Sony, you know. They call it cinema line just like, yeah, people think they have a cinema camera, but I don't think that's really true because it's a regular camera. Although the color science should be a little bit different between the A7 IV and the FX30, but if you shoot in S-Log3 and you match those, then there shouldn't be any difference. And you also have S-Cinetone, so if you use S-Cinetone, so that one should be similar on all Sony cameras that have S-Cinetone. I always liked the FX3 body design. I think that camera looks so good. I think it looks more like a real camera, like a video camera, and not like a photo camera. You know, the A7 IV looks kind of the same as the A7S III, and like I said, the FX30 is completely the same as the FX3, only maybe like the bolts on top have a different color. I thought on the FX3 they are silver, and on the FX30 they are black. And also FX3 has in the front written full frame, and this one doesn't. You have like these thread holes like around the whole camera, but I have a cage installed on it. Basically for me they are used to attach the cage. One of the most awesome things about the FX3 and the FX30 are these tele lights. So when you press rec, I mean, it looks so cool. When it lights up red on the back, on the bottom and on the front, looks really cool. Also, all these buttons that you have, like these customizable buttons, are already doing something. Like you have iris, white balance, ISO. You have here focus magnifier, peaking, shutter, zebra. You know, these are all things for video. So I really like that because the A7 IV doesn't have these, you know. But what I like on the A7 IV is that you have a dial. And I actually, when I started using the FX30, I never realized it doesn't have a dial when I saw it in the videos and the pictures. And then I suddenly, like, I was like working on it, I said like, okay, there is no dial, you know, because I'm really like used to have a dial like on every camera that I had before. So here you just have to press the mode button, and then you basically get like a dial on the screen. But other than that, most of the things are pretty similar that you have. Yeah, only like I said, the FX30 have a lot more buttons that you can customize. And yeah, the batteries are basically the same on both cameras. So these are the MPFZ100 batteries from Sony. So I have now like 4 of those, so I can use them in both cameras, which is really nice. The HDMI slot is on both cameras like big HDMI, so it's not like micro or mini, because I really hated it on the A7 IV because it was always super loose. You had to get these cables that are like not the regular HDMI, and it was super annoying because they can lose a lot, and these ports tend to break a lot faster than these big ones. But I still always like use a HDMI clamp just to be sure that the cable stays in place, that I don't damage the port. Then of course we have a microphone jack, then a headphone jack. On both cameras. They are basically on the same place, but the ports open a little bit different. And then we have like a USB-C port and a micro USB. You can also connect it to your PC to use both cameras as a webcam if you want to do that. Or you can stream with those. Like I said, a lot of people said that the A7 IV overheats, but I never had this issue. I mean, like, I don't know, it gets a little bit warm. Like when I'm shooting 4K 50 for a long period, it gets warm. But it gets warm after, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes using it like non-stop. And I never even got a warning that the temperature was going up. So I don't really know if some people have just faulty units, or I don't know, but I never had this issue. In 4K 25, there is never overheating. I didn't hear from anyone that it would overheat in 4K 25, only in 50. Also, if you turn on like like the high temperature, I don't know, the option that you have in the menu where you can turn it to high. When you turn that to high, it doesn't really happen that it turns off that quickly. On the FX30, when you turn on the camera for the first time, it asks you if you want to put it on high. You put it on high, but the fan actually is cooling down the camera the whole time. It's really fun when you hold it against your ear that you can feel like the fan blowing. On the bottom you have an intake where the air goes in, and on the sides it goes out of there. Also, one of the reasons why I bought the FX30 instead of the Sony ZV-E10 too is the fact that it has a dual SD card slot. That's one thing that I would never have in my A camera, and that is that it would have just one SD card. Because imagine you're shooting a wedding and suddenly your SD card dies, and I had SD cards die on me. I think even last week I had some SD card giving me some error, but I had to format it and everything was okay. But then I still had like my second SD card, which was okay. So for me, it's a huge deal breaker if a camera has only one slot for SD card. On the FX30, you have these two slots. So they are both regular SD and CF Express A. And on the A7IV, both of them are for regular SD and only one of them is for CF Express A. So that's also something to consider if you want the A7IV and you want to use the CF Express A cards and you want to have two of them, then the A7IV cannot do that. Only the FX30 can do that. The FX30 is built, like I said, with video in mind. So like I said, you have these tele lights, you have these customizable buttons. It looks more like a video camera, like if you look at it. Also, the dual base ISO is on the FX30 on 2500, so 800 in S-Log 3 and 2500. On the A7IV, it's 800 and 3200. So basically, the A7IV has a higher dual base ISO, but the FX3 and the A7S3 have 12,800. For me, it's kind of overkill. Okay, if you're like working a lot in low light, like maybe that you shoot events or something, then yeah, I mean, it makes kind of sense. But for me, if I have to be honest, I never really use it that much in low light, maybe on the weddings. But like I said, then I will use the FX30 during the day just to be sure that it doesn't overheat if it would happen, because I don't want to like shoot a wedding and then at that point when they say yes to each other, the A7IV might overheat, but I don't believe it will. But I will still use the FX30 for that part. And then in the evening, I will use the A7IV because of the low light capabilities. Also, what you get in the FX30 that you don't get in the A7IV is you get Cine EI. There are a lot of videos on that. I will maybe do one later too, but you get, so Cine EI, that's the same on the FX3, FX6, and all the other cameras like the Burano and the Venice. So yeah, that's what you get here too. You also get time code in this camera. So like I said, the lenses fit. Like you can use the lenses from the A7IV on the FX30. Of course, these are full frame lenses. So if you have a 17mm, the 17mm becomes 25.5. And the 28mm become something like 40 or something like that. But I don't really mind. I mean, like I said, I will just use the 17 to 28 most of the time. And if I need that extra reach, I will just switch my lenses and use my 28 to 75 also here. And yeah, I mean, these lenses are great. And I also have a Laowa, I think it's a 9mm. So I can use that one. So if I use the Laowa 9mm on here, it's like 13mm or something on full frame. So yeah, I mean, I really like how this camera also looks. I think that the image looks really nice. It's really pleasant to work with. So the LCD screens are a little bit different. The FX30 should have a 2.4 million dots LCD screen, and the A7IV has a 1 million dot LCD screen. But I'm gonna be honest, I put them next to each other. I don't see any difference. I don't know, maybe someone will see it, but I have to be honest, I don't see it. I know that the FX3 now, the FX3A, got got this new screen, the same one as the FX30, but I don't really understand what's so special about it and why some people say that they need more dots on their LCD screen. I don't really care, because like 90% of the time I use an external monitor, so for me it doesn't really matter, but maybe for someone will. So the A7IV is a 4K downsampled for 7K, so it records on a 7K sensor and it downsamples it to 4K. It's only for 4K 24, 25 and 30. If you go to 4K 50 or 60, then it uses a smaller portion of the sensor, and that one is 4.6K. So then it downsamples 4.6K to 4K. So on the FX30, the 4K 24, 25, 30, 50 and 60 are all basically downsampled 4K from a 6K sensor. So it's a 26 megapixel sensor and the sensor is basically 6K, so it downsamples to 4K. So the FX30 should be sharper than the A7IV and it should be sharper than the FX3, because the FX3 is a 12 megapixel sensor, so which is 4K. I see some reviews from some people that basically tried the FX30 against the FX3, and the FX3 is a lot less sharp. I mean, like, maybe that's the look that you're going for. I also really like footage that's not sharpened, but what it looks like is that the FX30 doesn't apply so much noise reduction in camera, and the FX3 does. So maybe the fact that it doesn't apply this noise reduction, the image is more noisy, but it's more sharp. So yeah, that's up to you. Then you can still apply noise reduction in post, and you can choose how much noise reduction you want to apply. But when it's already applied on the footage and it makes it more muddy, then yeah, you cannot do anything about that. But I think that every one of these cameras has some cons and pros. So both of these have really nice 4K, but the FX30 is a little bit sharper, like in all the other like frame rates. The A7IV is really sharp and 4K 25. But if you put them next to each other, the 4K 50 on both of the cameras, I think that both look amazing. So the A7IV goes up to 4K 50 or 60 in 4K, and in 1080p it goes up to 120 FPS. But if you shoot like in the normal or regular mode, then you only have 8-bit. So that means that you have to shoot an S&Q, and an S&Q you also unlock 10-bit S&Q. But what it does is that the video is already slowed down when you record it. So it's not like it's a really 120 FPS video that you can slow down how you want, but it's already slowed down in the camera. But then you unlock 10-bit, but you need at least a V60 memory card for that in order to record this 1080p 120 FPS and 10-bit 42. The FX30, however, does record 4K 120 FPS, so it has another crop of 1.6. I think that's really a lot. So that means if you have a 17mm on here and you shoot 4K 120, and that 17mm becomes suddenly a 51mm, which is a huge crop in my opinion. So I'm not even sure that I will use it. Maybe if you want to like shoot some action sports and you really want to zoom in on the subject, like I don't know, someone is jumping on a bike, or you're filming a surfer or some animal that is running, then you can use this 4K 120 with a big crop, and that's really made for details. But if I have to be honest, sometimes when I'm shooting some details of something on food, you know, someone is like pouring something on, I don't know, on a burger or whatever, then I'm sometimes using 70mm, you know, even in crop, just to be like really focused on that part where I want it. So there it will be maybe nice, the 4K 120, but what I saw from videos is that it's super noisy. So when you're using that, you are really cropping in on the sensor and you're making like the pixels bigger, so that means that the noise is also much more prominent, you know. And yeah, in my opinion, I would rather use the 1080p 120 on the A7IV, or I would use it here. And here on this camera, it's the same with S&Q. And you can put also S&Q to 240 FPS. So you can have full HD 240 FPS. Someone would say that full HD is not enough, but I have to be honest, I shoot a lot of real estate now. And like 99% of the time I'm using like the 1080p, because I don't know, I don't really see a reason to use 4K while I'm shooting like vertically for reels. And then I use the 1080p, and sometimes I even forget I'm editing some video and I'm like looking at it like, okay, is this 1080p? Because it looks really nice. And on the A7 IV you have 1080p full frame, so I can have full frame 120 fps or 100 fps, and I can scale it up in DaVinci Resolve or with Topaz AI Video. You can scale it up to 4K and no one ever will basically see the difference, at least not on social media or on YouTube, you know. All right, guys, so thank you for watching. I really hope that you like this video. If I see that these kind of videos make sense for me and that I see that people watch them, I will make more of these. I have some plans in the future, like to make like a whole like testing like in all kinds of scenarios of both cameras, and that can maybe also help you to like decide which one you should buy. Okay, thank you, see you, bye bye.